Steve Mariucci joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show on Mondays with Mooch. How are you, Mooch?
Rich, I've been sitting here listening because I'm always early. I'm on Coughlin time, right? And so I was listening to your last segment, and that was a pretty good pitch for Peppers to be a Heisman Trophy guy.
I mean, it's a different era, and, the guy who Woodson beat in 97 was Peyton Manning, a pocket-passing quarterback. Ryan Leaf was 3, and who was number 4, Long?
Yeah, number 4 was Randy Moss.
That was that year.
Really?
Yeah, but Lamar Jackson, though, is pretty damn dynamic, and the kid Browning in Washington, with Washington coming up with a big win at Utah this weekend, I think that's going to be tough for Peppers to try and beat them.
It is, but if Michigan stays undefeated, man, that's like crazy stuff.
You were pretty gleeful. You were pretty gleeful that first possession of Michigan State.
You didn't really read the quote verbatim.
Well, would you want me to, Steve? I'm happy to do that.
No,
Call it out.
I'm doing it just because I'm trying to be gentlemanly about it, Steve.
Yeah.
Unlike you with that text.
Well, I was just between two guys,
That's
And so,
yeah, I'm trying to protect you.
Hey, I've known Peppers longer than you, Rich. I had him in the Under Armour All-American game when he was coming out of high school. Mm-hmm. He was in our game that I coach, and, man, what a great kid.
Yeah.
What a great player.
Yeah, out of New Jersey. And there was a great feature on him on College Game Day about his family and the travails that he's had personally and how he's overcoming them on the campus in Ann Arbor. I want to start off our NFL conversation with you with what Cam Newton had to say after yesterday's big win for Carolina. They're 2-5. He didn't have much to say after getting hit in the head over and over again. His dad did the speaking after that. But here's what he had to say. Calais Campbell went low on him yesterday, which is supposed to be a flag. There was no flag. This is what he had to say after the game, Steve.
It's not fun. It's not fun. It's really taking the fun out of the game for me, honestly. It really is, because at times I don't even feel safe, right? And enough is enough. I plan on talking to Commissioner Goodell about this, but it's not fun. And I don't know what I have to do. I showed a lot of frustration today, and I apologize to the referee, who I was talking to, but I don't think it's a person that can go through what I go through and still keep their head. You know what I'm saying? Hits to the head, that's one thing, but when you're not protected in the pocket, that's another thing. The story of my life ever since I came in is just, well, we missed that one. I'm sorry. I try to get it. That's bullcrap. That's bullcrap. As players in this league, we do something stupid, we get fined. If we do something derogatory to somebody else, we get fined. And I just can't keep accepting, we missed that one, or I apologize for doing that, or I didn't see it. That's horse crap.
Now, Steve, you're on the Player Safety Advisory Board, correct? The one that John Madden's on. What do you make of this, Steve? What do you take out of this?
We were watching it when I was doing highlights. You had gone home already, and I was still working highlights last night. And we watched them, and he was dressed pretty well for this interview. But I'm listening to him, and I hear him. Because we had this conversation, didn't we, after the first game, when he got hit several times repeatedly in the head.
Right. Remember? Well, those, as he was pointing out, Steve, those were him scrambling out of pocket, and he said that's one thing. This one, in terms of protecting in the pocket, Calais Campbell comes right in on that part of his leg that after Kimo Van Olhoffen knocked Carson Palmer out of a game almost a decade ago. That's supposed to be a flag there, Steve.
That's why I'm listening to Cam, because he's the MVP of the league, and that doesn't – I give you more of a right than anybody else to state your claim. But we try to protect our we have to protect our quarterbacks. So we don't allow anybody to hit him in the head. We don't allow anybody to hit him in the legs when they're in the pocket. And we allow them to throw the ball away, and we allow them to slide. And believe me, we're talking about this on our Player Safety Advisory Panel because we're getting guys hurt when they're sliding. All right, Tony Romo broke his back when he was sliding.
Alex Smith,
that's how he's out.
Alex Smith
got
yesterday.
hit twice with concussion sliding. So we've got to figure out, and I don't want to put skirts on these guys, or that's saying whatever they say. But we have to protect our quarterbacks, and so let's look at this. Cam is, people have been called for roughing the passer more on Cam than anybody since he's been in the league, but it hasn't happened a lot lately. Last year and this year, it hasn't happened as much as his first 2 years. So I think he's got a legitimate gripe. I really do.
So what do you think the Players Safety Advisory Board, when you all get together and you hear an MVP of the league say, I need to be protected in the pocket, which he was not yesterday. You see Calais Campbell apologize to him after that hit was not flagged. I mean, what do you guys talk about when you get together, if you can
you
reveal
talk about the rules and how the rules are interpreted. You can't hit him in the legs, but sometimes when guys are flying in there and they get blocked into their legs, or they've left their feet and there's no way to avoid it, then you got to be lenient and smart on some of these rules. So I'm sure they're all going to be looked at, every way, shape, and form of protecting a quarterback in the off season, because we can't have teams with their third quarterback and fourth quarterback and fifth quarterback playing. We're concerned about our viewing audience. We're concerned about, obviously, the health of these guys, but it's just not good for the game when our quarterbacks are getting hurt, and so let's protect them.
Well, on Sunday Night Football last night, Steve, our soon-to-be Thursday Night Football compadre, we'll see in Tampa, Tony Dungy said that, he agreed with Cam, but he thinks that Cam shouldn't be the one saying it. It should be the coach, the owner, others who are behind the scenes making these lobbies. What can a coach do? What can a coach do in these situations? Every
game, a coach who's designated on each team fills out a report and essentially grades the officials. Not so much grades the officials, but will mark down certain plays and say, hey, I would like an interpretation on this play. We think it's this, and it was called this. And then you might have 2 or 3, you might have none, you might have 12 plays where, hey, we don't agree with the call. Let's have a further explanation. So that dialogue will go on if you want to take the time to question officials' calls. And that's, of course, confidential. And so that's how it's always handled. Seldom do you see a guy like Josh Norman or Cam, call out the officiating and that sort of thing. Oftentimes it leads to a fine and blah, blah, blah. But I think Cam is pretty darn frustrated because he's been taking a beating this year. He just came off a concussion.
Let's get Mariucci the poll question, Brockman, at Rich Eisen Show, at the Rich Eisen Show app. You can get on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Ask Mooch the question.
All right, Mooch, we're talking about mid-season NFL MVP. Who you got? Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Derek Carr, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott.
Who do you got for me, Steve?
Ouch. If we stop today, end of the season, Tom doesn't have enough games, even though he's excellent.
Okay.
He missed half the time, okay? So that hurts him right now. But by the time he plays 12, he's going to be in that discussion, certainly. Derek Carr is off the charts, to resurrect the Raiders like he is, and then that next Sunday night game against the Broncos is so huge. Dak's, making a case, I think, for Rookie of the Year. His numbers probably don't justify MVP. Ezekiel Elliott, those are some good choices.
So what makes
Derek Carr?
What makes him so good, Steve? Derek Carr.
One?
Derek Carr. What makes him so good?
Okay.
What are you seeing?
He can make all the throws, okay? Short, intermediate, long. He can change his launch point if he needs to. He can make plays on the move like Aaron Rodgers does. He's tough as nails. The kid is a monster. He's a tough guy, but he's humble, off the field. But when he puts that uniform on, he's just a tough guy. He's got this young team around him. He's the pulse. He's the face. He's the energy of that organization. It's just fun to watch. I love how he plays the game, and he's doing it all for a team that's probably going to move and it's an interesting story up here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then, the whole country's going to start getting to feast their eyes on it. There's the Sunday night game, as you point out this week, with the Raiders hosting the Broncos. We, on a Thursday night, have in December the Raiders at the Chiefs. I mean, the AFC West right now, 2 6-2 teams, a 5-2 team, and a 3-5 team that could damn near be 8-0 if you think about it. It's really going to be exciting over the next few weeks over this front.
And I've thought now for a couple of years that really, I mean, arguably the best football divisions are in the West, the NFC West and the AFC West. And in the AFC West, they're all playing really exciting football. The NFC West, a little disappointed with the Cardinals. We thought they'd be back, and they're struggling for whatever the reasons. But Seahawks aren't going to go away. I know they lost a weird game to the Saints, and the Saints defense pulled it out at the end for crying out loud. But the West has a lot of good football going on over here, especially that AFC West. Yep.
Lastly, Steve, I don't know if you heard this news because as I was just reminded by you, you worked late last night, and you're an old man, so maybe you sleep late. Did you hear the news that the Patriots traded Jamie Collins to the Browns for a third-round conditional draft compensatory pick?
Didn't hear that.
Yeah, Jamie Collins is a Brown now, and I guess he's been freelancing on defense, and when you don't do your job, you go get traded to the Browns. It's essentially what happened. I'd love to get your first blush thoughts on that.
Wow, that's the Patriots organization is really interesting for me as a former coach to follow because they do things a certain way. They differently than most teams. It's my way or the highway. You see veterans that show up there that have had, tough times in different places that fall in line when they're there. It's amazing. And maybe, they don't do foolish things over there very often. Maybe they see something that's going downhill and they're going to get a third-round pick. They always manage to have these draft picks on draft day to maneuver around. Interesting, boy. What a team.
They are. I know, 7-1. Steve, we'll see you in Tampa. I'll see you in a couple of days in Florida.
Hey, let's go to Tampa. Yeah, Matt, the Matrals playing, huh?
The Matrals playing.
We think we can get that name, to catch fire or
we
not?
keep saying that to him, and he really
doesn't like it, Rich.
Well, he says he does, but then doesn't do anything to help support it.
He just says it to you. He didn't say it to anybody else. He likes Matty Ice. But we're going to call him the Matro when he comes to the set.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
You're a team player. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. It's a good teammate. Steve Mariucci.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.